Hey guys, it's Saleh. The Anthropic team just released Claude 4. Now, we already know that so far Claude Sonnet 3.7 was the top coding model, but what we care about as algo traders is the performance of the model for algo trading. That means things such as writing strategies, improving the existing ones, coming up with trading ideas, converting PineScript strategies into Python, all the good stuff like that. So in this video, I'm going to review the model and test it with the actual use cases so we can see how good it is. So if you guys are as excited as I am, let's get right into it. In order to get the model to perform best for algo trading, we're not going to use the Claude platform itself. We need a platform which allows us to add our own custom instructions. I already open sourced the instructions that I made for JesseGPT, which is built for algo trading, and you can find the repository here. If you don't know what instructions are and how you can do that, you can watch my previous video here where I explained how to self-host this thing by yourself. But I'm not going to do that. Instead, I will use JesseGPT, which is basically the cloud version of this, and it's just ready out of the box. You can get it started for free or even upgrade to premium, but if you don't want to pay for it or if you have privacy concerns, then just self-host it with that video. So let's get started with the first question. So let's paste it here. Write a golden cross strategy that uses the 50 and 100 moving averages, close the position when the entry rule is no longer valid. So this is basically like the hello world of algo trading. So let's press enter, and it defined two moving averages. The shoe long says the moving average of 50 should be above 100. It's not shorting, which we didn't ask for, and it's using half the capital for opening the position, and it is closing it when the entry rule is the opposite. So this is actually perfect. And by the way, make sure you are using Claude Sonnet 4 by clicking here and choosing this. Anyways, let's copy this, go to Jesse and create a new strategy, which you can do by clicking here or here. Now I'm gonna name it Claude 4 test. I could just paste it here, or I could open my VS Code editor and look it up here. So let's paste it here. All right, so let's go to the backtesting page and look up Claude 4 test. The 4-hour time frame is fine. The BTC USDT is also fine. And we have 1 month of backtest. The fast mode, let's enable it. Right, so this is good. Let's start it. It went just fine. It took 2 trades, made 5%. So this is perfect. And if I go to the view charts, we can also look at the trades that it took. So it opened the long position, it closed it here, opened and closed here. So this looks perfect. So we're gonna give it a pass. Next, we're gonna ask it to convert this PineScript strategy into Python code. Now, to find the strategy on TradingView, I'm gonna look up super trend strategy. Now, I already have added it to my chart, so let's see how it looks like. All right, so it opens the position, closes it here. These are the results. And to look at the source code, let's click here, copy the whole thing, go back here and do this. All right, so it defined the super trend like this, which seems fine. The trend is either 1. If the price is bigger than the super trend's trend line, that's perfectly correct. It's also checking the previous trend. That seems fine. So it says open a long position if the current trend is 1 and the previous trend was -1. So it's trying to catch the moment that the crossover happens. We don't really need to do this, but if you do, you're not going to open a long position while the trend has been in an uptrend for a while. So it's good practice, but I don't usually do it myself. All right, so this seems fine. Let's copy the whole thing, go back and paste it, go to Jesse and rerun it, but this time with the new code. All right, so it took 17 trades, but the time frame is hourly now. And let's also take a look at the trades it took. All right, so this is perfect actually. So we bought here for a long position and we sold it here. So sell long. So this seems perfect. And yes, here the trend is changing. So yeah, this is really, really perfect. Now, it's not using 2 colors for the super trend like we do on TradingView. I could have done that, but we could just ask it because we didn't. So this is also definitely a pass. All right, next, develop a mean reversion strategy using the Bollinger Bands and the RSI with the 7 period. So here's the mean reversion strategy. It defined the Bollinger Bands with a period of 20 and multiplier of 2, the RSI 7. It's like this. All right, so we lost the formatting, and that's because it added an extra py here. So let's copy the whole thing, go to the editor, paste it here, but remember to remove this. All right, so let's take a quick look at the code. So yes, the period is now 7 for RSI, that's correct. The entry rule is when the price is below the lower band and the RSI is below 30, which means it is oversold, so we want to buy. So that's perfectly correct. For position sizing, this also looks perfect. We have a stop loss with the ATR multiplied by 1.5, submitted the buy order. So it also submitted the stop loss and take profit at the moment the position is opened. So this looks perfect. All right, so here's the thing though. Even though it submitted the take profit and its price is the middle band of the Bollinger Bands, it is also saying that if that is the case, we want to liquidate the current position when a closing candle occurs. But we don't really need this, because if we have the take profit already submitted at this price, then this condition will never be needed to be executed. But I'm just gonna leave it be, because it should execute just fine. So let's rerun it. All right, so we have an error because this syntax is not correct. So if I remove this, it should work. And it does. Well, it does work, guys, but it just got it wrong because of that parameter, so I'm gonna give it a fail. Now, it's not a big fail, of course, because it was just one tiny mistake, but I guess that's the rules for this video. Next, we're gonna ask it to write a strategy that uses the Fibonacci retracement levels for entry and exit points. So this is a tough one. Let's hit enter. Here's a Fibonacci retracement strategy that identifies swing highs and lows and uses Fibonacci levels for entries and exits. So it defines some default variables. It's using the ATR and the ADX. I define the swing points. We have a look back period, which we define here. It is 20, so that's correct, because for Fibonacci we always need a look back period. For the highs, it's getting the last 50 candles and their high prices, and this is exactly correct. We also do the same for lows. All right, and then we have the fib levels, which it defined as a dictionary like this. It multiplied it by Fibonacci numbers. So this looks good. So let's copy the whole thing, go back to the editor, paste it here, go to Jesse and run it. It ran. Let's also take a look at the trade it took. So these lines, they do seem fine. Actually, let's rerun this with the 4 hours, because I don't want it to take that many trades. Alright, so this looks better even in the PNL number. So yes, it went long here and it sold it here. So I'm guessing, yeah, because the closing price was here, so it opened it at this line, at the line of 61.8, and closed it at the Fibonacci line of 23.6. So this seems perfectly correct. Now, of course, there are different ways for trading Fibonacci lines, but I think this is a good basic version of it. So this is definitely a pass. Next, update my code to display the values of important indicators of my strategy in backtest for debugging purposes. Now for that, we're gonna have to feed it a strategy, and I'm gonna use this one from our website called Alligator AI, which is free. So you just need to be logged in and click on the get strategy, copy the whole thing and come here and paste it here. Let's see what it does. Now notice that the strategy itself, it doesn't have the values for displaying the indicators on the chart, which is really helpful for debugging. And there we go. So it added an after method, and it is using the add line to candle chart, which is the correct syntax for the jaw, teeth and lips of the alligator. It's also doing the same for the long-term EMA, for the CMO oscillator. This looks really perfect. We could also copy the whole strategy, because sometimes it changes the names of some parameters, so it's a better idea to just copy the whole thing. Paste it here, go back to Jesse and rerun this. Now, because it added just too many charts, I have to zoom out my page a little bit. I apologize for it, but at least we can see it now. So here's the chart, the candlestick charts, and you can see the moving averages and the lines of the alligator indicator. And this one is the CMO. This one is the stochastic RSI. And you can also see that it defined the thresholds that we use in the strategy. The ADX, again with the threshold of 30, which you can find here. And also the trend property, which we define, which is either 0 or 1. You can also see it here. So this looks perfect. So this again is the pass. Next, write a trend following strategy that uses 15 minutes time frame for entry and 4 hours time frame for a confirmation. Right, so it defined the 4 hours candles like this using the get candles method, and it hard coded the time frame, which is correct. And then it's using that for moving averages to give us the long-term trend. Right, so this seems perfect. Let's go back to the code editor, paste the whole thing and rerun it. And there we go. It's also profitable with some good numbers. So this is also a pass. Next, here's the code for my trend following strategy in the 15 minutes time frame. The strategy is losing money because it is taking too many trades and there are too many false breakouts during the ranging markets. Please improve the strat. Actually, let's feed it the strategy that it just generated for us. But first, let's make sure that we are paying for trading fees because it was set to 0. So let's run it. All right, so the numbers are slightly different now, but also let's lower the time frame to be 15 minutes. And now we're not profitable anymore. We're taking 39 trades, which is indeed too many, but we're paying this much in trading fees. So if we weren't paying fees, we would have been profitable. So that's really the problem with the strategy right now. So let's go here and just make sure there is no ADX. All right, so this is the only entry rule. We are using the ADX here, and I don't want to do that because usually when I see a strategy that is taking too many trades, the first thing that I do is using the ADX indicator, but there are also some other methods. And what I want to see is whether or not the model is capable of reasoning to know what a good strategy is, to know what to do. So not just writing the ADX for me, I'm not going to tell it to do that. It needs to know that is a good idea for this case. So let's copy this, remove it, and yes, so also remove it from here, make sure it's not anywhere else. Let's go back and run it one more time. Now it's actually making a profit now, so that's a bit unexpected. So this is a exception case, I guess, because it increased the number of trades, but now we are even more profitable, even though we are paying for fees. So here's the thing, let's change the duration of this to 2 months. And now we are losing. And we are also taking way more trades. So let's copy the strategy, go to JesseGPT and just paste the whole thing. All right, so let's copy the whole thing, go back, paste it here. And again, it added an extra PY here. So make sure that is removed. So let's check out the entry rule now. So it added a couple of things. So it's checking for market structure, which is using the ADX indicator, which is absolutely correct. It also added a volatility filter, which is using the Bollinger Bands width, which is a perfect method actually, one very subtle but effective, which I also use sometimes. It's checking for the momentum strength, which is using the RSI and the MACD. All right, so it basically wants both the RSI and MACD to have certain conditions. It's wrote it in a bit complex way. I don't love it, but it should work. It's also checking for the price position, which is using moving averages. It also added a time spacing. Okay, all right, so this one is really good because it says a minimum of 8 candles, or 2 hours in this case, because we're trading 15 minutes time frame, must have been passed between trades to avoid over trading. So this is also really effective. And the way it does it is by saying if the current index minus the last trade index is bigger than 8. Now, the current index is always updated behind the scenes by Jesse. So we just need to make sure the last trade index is also updated, which it is doing that inside the unopened position. So when it opens a position, it stores the value of the current index inside this variable so that we can later use it. So this is really beautiful code. So let's go and make sure it also runs, and it doesn't. So this is really a shame because the syntax of it was really great so far. So let's see where it made the mistake. So it's basically here. Right, so it's passing the Bollinger Band values to SMA, getting the average of them. It looks fine, but it's not running. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give it a fail, even though the code was really beautiful. Right, next, develop a strategy that combines the Williams %R, MACD, and Bollinger Bands. So this is an easy one actually. Right, so let's copy the whole thing, go back to my cursor editor, paste it, and remove this. So it defined the Williams %R with the syntax which is correct, the MACD, the Bollinger Bands, and these are the entry conditions. Now I like what it did with the comments and how it is defining the entry conditions, because this is really easy. For example, if we need to remove one of them or add it again. So, and the comments are also really helpful for the user. Alright, so this looks perfectly fine. Everything else is also correct. I like the definitions here. Alright, so let's go and make sure it runs. And there we go. Now if we run it on the 4 hours, it is now profitable. And it took 6 trades. So this is definitely a pass. Alright, next, write the entry functions of the strategy for me in a way that it should use 2 limit orders for opening the position, and it should only risk 2% of the capital per trade. So here's the thing. So far with every strategy that we wrote, it was using market orders for entering and also in just 1 point. And what I want to see if the model gets how we can do it with multiple points using limit orders. So let's hit enter. And it just wrote that function. So it is also listening to what I said. It didn't write the whole strategy, and the example it is using the ATR, which makes perfect sense. It also did the same for a stop loss. For the quantity, it is risking 2% using the risk to quantity utility function of Jesse, so that's also perfectly correct. It is entering with 60% of the capital for the first order and the second one with 40%, and it is using the correct syntax, which is this. So in Jesse, if we want to submit more than one order, we don't just enter it with quantity first and then the price. We need to define a list of tulip values, and that's how it did it, which is perfectly correct. So this is also definitely a pass. And last and definitely not least, write a pair trading strategy for ETH and BTC. So this is a tough one because it needs to write 2 strategies and also guide us on how to run it, because we want to long one strategy while we short the other one. Now, if you don't know what type of a strategy I'm talking about, watch my previous video here where I described how Edward Thorpe used this strategy to make his 800 million fortune. All right, so here's a pair trading strategy for ETH and BTC. You'll need 2 strategy files and 2 routes configured, so that's correct. So the first one is the leading strategy for BTC route. So let's copy it, go to Jesse and define one. Let's call it Claude pairs 1, and another one for Claude pairs 2. Now for the first one, let's paste it here. All right, so this is the first one. This is the second one, which is the follower strategy. So let's also copy this one, but also let's read what it says. So route configuration. Configure 2 routes in Jesse. Route 1 is for BTC USDT, which is the leading, and route 2 is ETH USDT, which is the following. How it works. calculates z-score of BTC and ETH price spread, enters positions when z-score exceeds plus or minus 1.5 threshold, exits when z-score returns to neutral, checks configuration daily to ensure pairs relations exist, uses volatility-based position sizing for optimal risk distribution, BTC route leads all decisions and communicates via shared vars. Now, in case you're not familiar, in Jesse, if you have more than one strategy, and if those strategy files need to communicate with each other, we need to use the shared vars variable, which can be accessed from any file, and this is brilliant. So let's go back to Jesse and go to the second pair and paste it here. Now, if I go to the backtest page and let's add another trading route, and this one is Claude pairs 1, Claude pairs 2. This one must be ETH-USDT. So let's run it. Now it's telling me that I cannot run it because the fast mode is on. So in case you don't know, the fast mode is really great, but it doesn't work when you are dealing with multiple routes. So this should be fine now. Let's run it. All right, so we're getting these errors. Let's cancel it and go and check the code. So the way it defined the get candles, so instead of this, it should have said self exchange so that it would have worked anywhere. I think that's why we were getting that. Yeah, so now it actually crushed it. So it made one tiny mistake. Otherwise, it was great, and it was even profitable with some really good numbers. Now, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give it a fail, but it did a pretty good job. It just made one tiny mistake. So here's the overall result. And even though it failed in 3 questions, it actually did make them. It just made one really tiny mistake, so I'm not even sure if I had to give it a fail. Now, this was a new type of video that I just did. If you guys have any feedback, especially for the questions, maybe you have some other questions you want me to ask the model, or maybe we need to change the rating system, just let me know by posting a comment on the video. And before I leave you, we're gonna have a giveaway. A random person who likes the video, posts a comment and subscribes to the channel is going to win 1 million bank token. Alright, let's pick the winner from the previous video. And the winner is, thanks for a new strategy to test out. Thank you so much for your comment. Please reach out to me so that I can send you your bank tokens. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.